investigation discovery, a scientific method investigation. All students in middle school need an understanding of the scientific method, and this investigation offers students a real-world problem to research. Students encountered a crime scene, gathered and logged evidence, met with a law enforcement officer to ask questions and further gather evidence, completed research online with virtual scientific tools, completed reports, and developed a creative story about the crime. The use of Google Classroom is the gathering place of all information that students will need to access in order to complete their scientific investigation. These may include interviews of witnesses and suspects, fingerprint documents, background information on the victims and suspects, and instructions for group members' assignments. The use of virtual microscope on brainpop.com allows students to practice the procedures to use a microscope as well as viewing materials that may not normally be allowed based on OSHA requirements, such as blood or body fluids. These materials may be vital in a crime scene case investigation, but are not able to be used in their true form in a school setting. Their virtual use enables us to bring those components into the lesson, however. Some other tools that will be used include Google Docs, Google Slides, Prezi, Popplet, and Storyboard That. There are several ways that this lesson is differentiated based on learning styles and abilities. In grouping students according to data from pre-assessment, students were grouped to be able to assist each other and help in scaffolding those students who had received no information on scientific method yet. For a narrative assignment, students will have the benefit of having discussed and analyzed data together, but will be writing stories that can include conclusions of their own. They will be sharing these and collaborating through Google Docs. Since groups are in different combinations of understanding levels, some groups will be higher overall than others, while some fall more to the average level. Since this is a gifted accelerated group of students, though, there are not very many that fall into the low group, but there are some who are lower than others. Groups will be assigned a task based on their overall levels, and each task will be tiered. Through Google Classroom, tasks can be assigned to specific students, and this tool can be used to relay information to students. The students will be coming back together after the writing their narratives to compare and use portions of all their narratives for their presentation. Some students will be assigned to make a Google Slides presentation to share their conclusions. Some will make a Prezi or Popplet to show a visual representation of conclusions, while others will use Storyboard That to create a comic strip using a literary element to relay their findings. These tiers represent different types of learners, from those who are more visual or more verbal to those who are able to incorporate more elements together. Students will have several forms of assessment. There will be a performance-based writing assignment in which students will present their findings of investigation and draw conclusions, as well as a formative assessment in Google Forms over the process of the scientific method. Students will also be using their writing assignment to make a brief presentation to the class over their findings. Both the writing assignment and the presentation will be graded based on a rubric. For this lesson, students went on a nature walk, or so they thought, with the teachers to the outdoor classroom. While on this walk, a crime scene was discovered in which a murder victim's body was found, along with tools and blood spatter. Local law enforcement authorities asked for students' help in solving the mystery of who killed this young girl. Students were assigned groups within the classroom, so they're instructed to work within groups and given a kit that includes important information and tools. Students work together to gather evidence and determine what evidence is important and deals with the crime scene. Once all evidence is collected, students return to the classroom with the teacher. A local law enforcement officer came to demonstrate how to take fingerprints. He demonstrated several ways, allowing students to take their own fingerprints and then lifting the actual fingerprint off the murder weapon. They discussed different types of evidence and the importance of keeping track of all of it. Students then created a Google form to input evidence that's been collected. The virtual microscope through BrainPop allows students to view how a microscope works and to see blood samples online, since one of our key pieces of evidence was blood. In groups, students worked together to analyze evidence, including pictures, interviews with suspects, and fingerprints and shoe prints collected at the scene. Students completed a medical examiner's report and answered questions about the crime scene. Students came back together, and after they made their inferences, and they determined that it was me. There were several challenges that we faced during this lesson. We chose to do this as a cross-curricular lesson, and it was done all in one day. It was rather difficult to do that, so it could possibly be split up and could be done during one class period each day for 4 to 5 days, but we went on ahead and did the entire thing in one day, so it was all fresh on their mind. It can be done either way. It is rather difficult to do in one day, however. You also got to be okay with a little bit of organized chaos, because it is rather risky to have students all over the place trying to collect evidence, trying to do different things, and complete different tasks at different time periods. So you have to be able to go with the flow and not necessarily have students sitting down and quiet all of the time. There was also a lot of prep work that was involved in this. I did notice that during it, students were very engaged with gathering evidence as well as analyzing. They seemed eager to find the killer. They were trying to find me out. But there was lots of prep work that was involved in finding the forms that we needed. And so there were some things that did take a lot of prep work. We had to set up an entire crime scene, but it was worth it in the end because the students really seemed to learn a lot from this lesson. Now, where's my